going to have a interesting little meeting. First of all, we're going to have go over the minutes from last meeting. Did anybody read them?
Roll call, honey.
Roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Daylight
Thank
savings
you.
time. Still
Yeah.
waking up.
Sherry, roll call.
We have Mr. Delange,
Here.
Mr. Lilly,
Here.
Ms. Root,
Present.
Ms. Tornatori,
Here.
Mr. Horian.
Here.
And we have one of our alternates, Mr. Desai. And Mr. Pollard is on his way, he's having car trouble.
Thank you, Sherry. So let's move on to the minutes of last meeting. And anybody have a chance to read it? And
Motion to approve the minutes as per.
alrighty, thank you very much, Sherry.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you. Now comes the nominations for chair and vice chair.
I make a motion that we keep the vice chair and the chair as we have it. Do I have to say the names?
No.
Rick Delange and, what's your name?
Jenny.
Jenny. Da-da-da.
Third.
I second.
Third.
Is it okay?
Oh, you saw his
It's
face.
7:30,
I
you
know
know?
my name is a mouthful, that's fine.
Your face was perfect. Thank you. Sherry?
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Now we go into the quasi judicial hearing, and it's ordinance 2024-7. Counsel, do you want to read it, or?
For quasi judicial, have there been any ex parte communications?
No.
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 Okay. Is anybody present here, Stuart? Doesn't look like there is, so nobody will
No.
swear in.
It's a formality.
We don't read the ordinance during planning and zoning,
Okay.
It's a formality.
Don't swear him in?
unless you'd like to hear it. I'd be happy.
No, no, no.
Stuart?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, board members. Happy to bring forward.
Yes.
Sure.
So this ordinance that we have before us, ordinance 2024-07, is a zoning map amendment for the subject property located at 3215 La Paloma Avenue, which was recently annexed into the city. In fact, it was annexed on February 27th of last month. The owner applicant are Maggie and Kevin Kiernan. The property size is 0.14 acres, plus or minus. The current zoning of the property is Volusia County R9 Urban Single Family Residential District. And what the ordinance would do, if adopted, would be to change it from the county zoning, the R9, to Daytona Beach Shores RSF-2 Urban Single Family Residential District. And the current land use on the property is single family residential. So as all of you are familiar, the reason why we're here today in terms of assigning a zoning classification to this particular property that was recently annexed is because of section 171.062 of the Florida statutes, which basically says whenever a property is annexed from the county into a city or a local government incorporated, essentially the local municipality land use regulations and zoning regulations cannot become effective until such time that the city or the local government has assigned its own county land use plan and zoning designation for this for the subject property. So the subject property is about a mile south of where we are today. It's about a 3-minute drive. As you can see, the star is where we are right now, and you can either hit Peninsula off Oceans West, or you can hit South Atlantic off Bellemeade, and as I mentioned, it's about a 1 mile drive. So this is an aerial view of the property, not seen, but just to the right is South Atlantic Avenue, which is perpendicular to both Cascade Terrace and Esmeralda Avenue, and not seen perpendicular to Westminster Avenue here is South Peninsula Drive. And this is the subject property here in the red box, and this is the surrounding neighborhood. To the south of the box or the property is single-family residential. To the west of the property is the Westminster Church property. There's a parking lot and also the church proper. And to the north of the property are the Cascade Apartments. This is a street view of the property. And this is what the city's zoning map currently looks like. The red box is where the property is. And as you can see, a classification has not been assigned as yet. However, if this ordinance was adopted, the color in the map would change to the RSF2 zoning classification color. You may have seen in your staff report, board members, that the rezoning criteria, all of them have been met, all 14 of them have been met, so I'm not going to go over those in detail. Essentially, what this particular ordinance does is the effect is a what's called a density or impact neutral type change. And so in your staff report, you'll also see a comprehensive plan analysis in those 14 criteria that I just mentioned. I have this check mark here in yellow, and the only reason why I have it in yellow is because to be fully consistent with the city's comprehensive plan, a future land use map designation for the city also has to be assigned to this property. But other than that, in terms of the policies regarding the comprehensive plan, all of those are consistent with this particular change. The public notice requirements have been satisfied, the staff has reviewed it, and the rezoning criteria, as I mentioned earlier, have been met as well. And so staff is recommending approval of this subject ordinance. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to take those.
No question.
I have a question.
Yes.
The church, Westminster Church, is that part of Daytona Beach Shores City?
Yes, yes, it is.
Because I wasn't sure of the way that it was showing. The adjacent property is also yellow and indicates Daytona Beach Shores?
Yes, everything with a color on these maps are in the city of Daytona Beach Shores. The ones without colors are unincorporated Volusia County R9 zoning district.
So one of our criteria is that the adjacent property or the street has to be part of the shores in order for it.
Correct.
Can you review that again? Because I had a question concerning that. So a section, their neighbor in the back is.
Correct. And just to be clear, that's a classification for annexation, which we're not talking about today. The property has already been annexed, but yes, pursuant to Chapter 171 of the Florida statutes for voluntary annexation, one border, or at least 50% of one border for the property that's trying to come into the shores has to be, or into a local government, has to be contiguous or basically directly touching the local government in which the subject county property is trying to incorporate into. Or, as you said, you know, if it's across the street, it has the same effect. But we're not talking about that today. We're talking about the actual rezoning ordinance, because the property has already been annexed. The county has already reviewed it, and they have not had any objection. So I think what you're getting at, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that there's a lot of white. There's a lot of Volusia County properties around here. So this is a huge enclave on the Barrier Island, and the goal is that eventually one day all this white will either go to the city of Daytona Beach Shores or some other jurisdiction in order to not have gaps in terms of delivery of services. You know, people call for code enforcement and they were like, oh, my neighbor is in the shores and they're doing X, Y, and Z. Well, comes to find out that that property might actually be somewhere else. It might be either in Daytona Beach or Port Orange or in the county, or yeah, those are the three jurisdictions aside from Daytona Beach Shores that are in here, in this area. So eventually the goal is to have all those enclaves, those pockets, annexed into a local government where we don't have haphazard planning and development and delivery of services.
Thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome.
Sir,
Yes, sir.
the zoning into the city's zoning code will not hinder them renting out that property, right?
No, well done.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Ready?
I move to recommend approval of ordinance 2024-07 as presented.
Thank you. Second?
Second?
Sherry, if you can do roll call?
Mr. Horian?
Yes.
Ms. Tortori?
Yes.
Ms. Groot?
Yes.
Mr. Lilly?
Yes,
Mr. Deloche?
Yes. Thank you. Now, action item, ordinance 2024-6. Stuart?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, board members. Again, Stuart Cruz, City Community Services Director, for the record. So, I've been saying that, the other thing I was going to say for, what, 18 years or so? So, this ordinance 2024-06, is a future land use map amendment for the subject property 3215 La Paloma Avenue, which we just discussed, and these go hand in hand. The zoning and the comprehensive plan, future land use map assignment or classification, they both have to be compatible And again, you know, it's something that has to be assigned whenever a property is annexed into a local government. So I'm not going to go into this too much since we all know about the property. Again, 3215 La Paloma Avenue was annexed on February 27, 2024, this year. The current future land use designation for the county is Volusia County Urban Low Intensity. And if this ordinance is adopted, it would be changed to, the land use for this property will be changed to Daytona Beach Shores Residential Low Intensity. And in parentheses, you can see basically the density allocation is the same. And again, this is a single-family residential structure. And this, again, is the background as to why we're required to make this change. Aerial of the neighborhood. Street view of the property. And this is the way the city's future land use map looks right now. Now that the property has been annexed, there's no designation assigned in terms of the future land use map. And this is more or less what it will look like, which basically represents residential low intensity, as you can see up here. I didn't show this in the rezoning, but this is something that's done for rezoning and for future land use map amendments. It's basically an impact summary analysis of all the development variables that are required under Florida statute and under city code. And as you can see, essentially there's no change. It's basically single family to single family, and so there's no change, as you can see in this second to last column to the right. Again, here in terms of the policies of the land of the city's comprehensive plan, both land use classifications are consistent. The public notice requirements have been met and submitted for the record. The impact analysis shows that there's not going to be any change, and the requisite staff have reviewed. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to take those, but staff is recommending approval of this subject ordinance as presented.
Thank you, Stuart. Any questions or comments? Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve this ordinance 2024-06, comprehensive plan future land use map amendment for recently annexed single-family residential property located at 3250 La Paloma Avenue.
Second?
Thank you. Jerry, if you can do roll call?
Ms. Tornatori?
Yes.
Mr. Morgan?
Yes.
Ms. Groot?
Yes.
Mr. Lilly?
Yes.
Mr. Delon?
Yes. All righty. That was quick. So is there any other comments or any discussions that the board would like to make?
Congratulations on your reappointment.
Oh, well, thank you. Congratulations, Jenny.
Hey, you're mine.
Yeah, bye.
No, I do have a comment.
Yes.
I was doing this for 14 years and we never did that.
We never did what?
We never did vote every year.
Oh,
We did.
We did?
Maybe not as often, but we
yeah.
did.
Not every year.
I have a question for Stuart.
Oh, you have a question for
Stuart.
Stuart?
Do we have to vote every year? That's what I'm getting at.
Yes, sir.
And the property across the street from the old Treasure Island,
No?
the one that's had a fence around it for the past 18 years. Any update on that? Getting it finished?
Are you talking about is it vacant? Because there are a few properties. I just want to make sure we're talking about the same property.
There's a vacant lot where the Seawell people are using. To the north of that, at the corner, northwest corner.
Okay, so you're talking about the 1930 property, if I understand correctly, the old Burger King property?
Sounds good.
Yes, so that property was rezoned way back in, I want to say, 2008 or 9, if I remember correctly. Don't hold me to that, but it has been rezoned to mixed-use development, and it has changed ownership at least twice since I've been here. And there is no plans, as far as I know, or that has been submitted to the record for development of that property. But it is entitled for mixed-use development, which I believe, if I remember correctly, it was a 5 or 6 story mixed-use development with commercial to the bottom and condominiums on top.
I think we're talking about a different property.
Okay.
The one I'm talking about is like 2 stories with car bays in it.
Okay, so you're talking about
It's
the
had a
20
chain link fence around it for a long time.
Okay, so I believe you're talking about the 2020 South Atlantic property, the old scooter property. Is that it? Right
Okay.
across from Treasure Island, yes. So that property, you know, it's actually going through some legal proceedings right now, if I remember correctly. I believe the city attorney's office just did something with regards to that. I'll turn it over to the city attorney.
We did. The attorney that represented the owner loaned his client money, and he secured that with a note and a mortgage. Miss Miralev, I think is the owner, is now in a nursing home down in New Smyrna Beach. And the attorney, Robert Bailey, is foreclosing on his mortgage. So we have 3 code enforcement liens. One is $6,000, one is $50,000, and one is 200-something thousand. That's accruing daily. Unfortunately, the mortgage was filed second. It was filed, there was a $5,000 code enforcement lien, then the mortgage, then the 3rd code enforcement, then the 4th code enforcement. So the mortgage takes priority over our code enforcement liens. So we went to court, we fought about it. I argued unclean hands because the attorney loaned his client money and then sued his client. The attorney was part of the code enforcement proceedings. Judge didn't buy it, nothing illegal. Didn't pass the smell test, but still not illegal. But anyway, long story short, they're foreclosing on the property. So there will be a foreclosure sale. If there's any money left over, our liens will be satisfied. They're probably gonna tear it down, and I would imagine a developer will buy it and build something.
It's just an eyesore coming into town.
But the attorney would have to pay the first 6,000, right? Because
The first 6,000,
more, so they have to pay that.
they have to pay
They
the.
don't have to pay what's after that, but they have to pay that.
They only have, yes, the 6,000 is first, and the last 2 liens are only paid if there's money left over after the foreclosure. So, that actually just went to the commission last meeting, the settlement agreement in that case.
Thank you.
Thank you for the update. On might be the same property we're talking about, but last year we approved for a potential restaurant with an individual living above. That's the old car wash.
No, it's a separate property.
It's a separate property. Did that fall apart? Did they back away from that deal?
Yes, unfortunately, but there is another interested party in that, so the property that Chairman, that the board member Lilly was referring to was 2020 South Atlantic. The car wash property is 2120. So the numbers are very similar, but yes, that deal did fall through with the car wash, but there's another interested party. Already, we actually have a meeting, I believe it's this week, to do a pre-application meeting for the development for that property. But it's a contract buyer, so let's see how it goes. You know how that kind of stuff goes.
Thank you for the updates, both of you. It's always very helpful to follow up on previous situations, so thank you very much. If there's any more comments or statements?
Give me a look.
Yeah, when he stood up, I kind of waited. All right, if there isn't, meeting adjourned. Thank you. Yeah, it's always good to get updates and find out because, we make statements or, we approve things and then nothing.
Back to the story.
I don't know the skinny on everything that's going on.